What if I told you that disappearing from a woman's life without anger, without games, might be the most unforgettable move you ever make? That the moment you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop trying to prove you're enough, and instead choose silence, not as a tactic, but as a boundary you don't fade into the background. You become the presence she can't stop thinking about. Because real silence, it's not absence, it's presence in another form. It lingers, it echoes, it opens space in her mind where your voice used to be, and now where your energy still lives. It may feel strange, even impossible, but the truth is this: the human mind is drawn to what's no longer available, to what disappeared, not in bitterness, but in peace. You're not pulling away to punish her. You're stepping back because you remembered something powerful. You were never meant to chase love that doesn't match your value. Most men don't realize this. They over-message, they over-give, they try to explain their worth. But the man who simply walks away with clarity in his mind and calm in his chest doesn't lose her. He gives her something she didn't expect, a reason to finally see him clearly. And when that happens, something begins to shift inside her. Not immediately, but day by day. Silence becomes the question she can't answer, and absence becomes the mirror she can't avoid. In this video, we'll walk you through exactly what happens in her mind day by day when you disappear with quiet strength. Stick around. What unfolds next will surprise you. If you're ready to step out of the noise and into your power, like, comment, and subscribe to the Stoic Spirit. Then share this with a man who's ready to stop chasing and start leading. Day 1. She doesn't panic. She doesn't cry. She doesn't even flinch. Not yet. To her, it's just a small shift in the air, like a song fading out in the background. Noticeable, but not disruptive. You've gone quiet. But she doesn't take it seriously. Not today. Why? Because she's used to attention. She's used to men circling back eventually. Some come back disparity. Some return out of ego. But most, they always return. So when you go silent, she tells herself, it's nothing. Maybe you're busy. Maybe you're playing games. Maybe you're just trying to get her attention. She thinks she's seen this before, and she thinks she knows how it ends. But this is where she's wrong. Because this time, you're not pretending. You're not pulling away to manipulate. You're not waiting for her to miss you. You've simply stopped pouring energy into something that never fully received you. That's not weakness. That's clarity. You're not chasing anymore. You're not explaining anymore. You're not trying to prove your value. This isn't about power. It's about peace. The kind of peace that comes when a man no longer needs validation to feel grounded. The kind of peace that replaces need with self-respect. And that's the shift she can't see. Not yet, because it hasn't reached her world. But something has already changed. Not in her. In you, the silence isn't empty. It's full of meaning. It's alive. And while she may dismiss it today, that same silence will soon echo louder than any words you ever said. Day 2 to 3. A subtle shift begins. Something feels different now. Not dramatic, not alarming, just off. There's a quiet space where you used to be. She doesn't panic. Not yet. Outwardly, she's composed, even a little amused. She tells herself, you're just pulling back for attention, that this is temporary. You've always been steady, not needy, not clingy, but present, reliable. And now, nothing. No call, no message, no update, only stillness. At first, she welcomes the space. She believes she has the upper hand now. That silence is her gain. But beneath the surface, something's already shifting. She scrolls through your old messages, not to reply, just to remember. She checks your profile, not to talk, just to see if you're still there. And what she finds is the unexpected. You're not there, not in the way she remembers, not in the way she expected. This is when the silence starts to dig deeper. It begins to plant something she can't quite explain. Not longing, not regret, not yet, but uncertainty. A quiet doubt begins to settle in. It doesn't scream, it doesn't break her. It just sits and grows. She doesn't know what shifted. She doesn't know if it's her fault, or worse, if you've already moved on. She's felt rejected before. But this is different. This is confusion. This is not knowing, and the mind fears the unknown far more than it fears the obvious. By doing nothing, you've broken the pattern, and by breaking the pattern, you've gained power without lifting a finger. She won't admit it. Not yet, but deep inside, a question is already echoing. What if he's not coming back? Day 4 to 5. The absence feels heavier. Now the silence isn't just noticed, it's starting to take root. It shows up quietly, not in some dramatic moment, but in the everyday, the in-between. She opens her phone more often now. Not with urgency, but with a small, silent hope. Maybe your name will appear. Maybe there'll be a sign. She tells herself, it's nothing, just habit, just a reflex. But deep down, she knows it's not just that. Your silence is becoming a presence, a pressure she didn't expect. Certain songs suddenly feel heavy. Memories tied to your consistency begin to surface. She skips them, not because she doesn't like them, but because they remind her of something stable, of when she didn't have to wonder, of when she was sure of her place. Now, the nights stretch longer, not because she misses you, but because the stillness won't leave her alone. You used to fill those gaps with attention, with reassurance, with something that said, I'm still here. She assumed you'd fold, like every man before. Send a message, react, reach, but you haven't. You remain silent. And somehow, that unsettles her more than anger ever could, because your silence isn't passive. It's not some strategy disguised as indifference. It's intentional, grounded, and very much alive. It speaks. It says you're no longer chasing. You're not waiting. You're not playing. You're rooted in yourself. And she feels that now, even if she can't explain it, even if she refuses to admit it, something has shifted. Not in you, in her, because for the first time, she's not certain how this ends. She's not writing the script anymore. She thought she had control, but now she realizes you've taken it back without saying a single word. Day 6 to 7. The questions begin to echo. By now, something deeper begins to shift, not just in how she thinks of you, but in how she thinks of herself. This isn't about missing you in some romantic way. It's not nostalgia. It's not longing. It's about something far more uncomfortable. The feeling of losing control. Control she believed she had. Control she never thought she'd question. Because in her mind, you were supposed to break first. You were meant to reach out, to fold, to send some small sign that she still held the power, but you haven't. You've stayed silent, centered, still, and that stillness is starting to unravel assumptions she didn't even know she built around you. Now the questions come, soft at first, then sharper. Did I misread him? Was he faking it the whole time? Or worse, is he already with someone else? She doesn't say these things aloud. She won't admit them to friends. But they echo over and over again inside the quiet corners of her thoughts. Because it's not just your absence that gets to her, it's the calm surrounding it. The calm she didn't expect. The calm that suggests you're not coming back. That maybe you've finally moved on. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're not waiting. You're not playing. You've just stepped away. No drama. No explosion. Just clarity. And that's what disturbs her the most. You're not asking for closure. You're not chasing understanding. You've simply let go and kept walking. That kind of peace, it can't be performed. It can't be faked. And it cuts through her pride like nothing else ever could. Because now she's not just wondering where you are. She's questioning who she was in your world. What she really meant. If she ever meant as much as she thought. Not because you made her feel small, but because you finally stopped needing her to feel whole. And that truth, it lingers, it stings, and it refuses to be ignored. Day 8 to 10, the quiet starts to haunt her. At this point, the silence no longer feels like distance. It feels like a presence. It follows her everywhere. In the middle of conversations, in the quiet moments before bed. Even when she's laughing with others, you're there, not in body, but in the space you used to fill. It's not that she's missing you, it's that your absence is starting to make her question herself. She starts scanning for signs. Did you view her story like an old picture? React to anything at all? The answer, nothing. Not a ripple, not a shadow. You've vanished without noise, but your stillness is louder than any confrontation. And that unsettles her more than anger ever could. She tells herself, you're playing a game, waiting for her to react. But something about your silence doesn't feel like a trap. It feels final, peaceful, complete. You're not hiding. You're not baiting. You've chosen not to respond. Not out of pride, but out of principle. You're not punishing her. You're protecting your peace. You've drawn a line she didn't expect you'd draw, and you didn't shout it. You simply walked across it quietly. Now something sharp settles in her chest. Regret. Not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. Because the one thing she never imagined was a version of you that no longer needed her validation. And now she sees it. You're not waiting. You're not hurting. You're not frozen in time like she thought you'd be. You've moved forward with dignity, with clarity, with stillness that speaks louder than any words. And the hardest part, she can't escape it. That kind of peace doesn't just disappear, it stays. It fills the spaces she thought were hers alone. The silence she used to find comforting now whispers your name, and it haunts her because it tells her the truth she never wanted to hear. You're not coming back. Day 11 to 14. Ego cracks. Doubt creeps in. By now, something in her reflection starts to shift. It's not obvious, just a longer pause in front of the mirror, a subtle stillness in her eyes. She's not angry, she's not raging, but she's no longer certain. Her mind begins to circle back, not with bitterness, but with quiet curiosity. She replays the way you looked at her, The way you showed up with loyalty. The way you stayed even when she pulled away. At the time, she labeled it as weakness. Now, she's not so sure. What if that was strength? What if your persistence wasn't neediness, but genuine care? What if your silence now isn't punishment, but peace? And this is where it cuts deep. You're not staging a comeback. You're not pulling strings. You're not sitting by your phone, hoping for her to notice. You're just living, grounded, still, whole. You've stepped out of the emotional arena. No more games, no more performance. Your focus is elsewhere now, on your work, your mind, your purpose. And somehow, she can feel that, even without a word from you, she feels the absence shift. Not a cold wall, but a calm boundary. One that wasn't drawn to hurt her, but to honor yourself. And this unsettles her ego, because nothing rattles the ego like watching someone thrive without seeking validation. She told herself she was just giving it time, that you'd eventually break the silence, but you didn't. Now, she's not wondering if you'll come back. She's wondering if you ever needed her at all. And that one question, it unravels everything. The story she thought she was writing, of control, of choice, of pride, starts to blur. You've taken the pen, without even lifting a hand. Days 15 to 17. Her pride battles her curiosity. By now, your silence no longer feels like distance. It feels like presence, a grounded presence, a choice, a boundary. She feels it in the places you used to fill. Your voice, your wit, your warmth, not just in grand gestures, but in the small spaces, morning texts, short jokes, little reminders of, I'm here. She told herself it didn't matter, that she's fine, but something has started to shift. Her pride tells her to stay composed, to look unbothered, to act as if this was her plan all along. But her curiosity is growing louder, and it's starting to tug at her. Not violently, but with that slow pull that creeps in before midnight. She doesn't want to reach out, but she wants to be seen. So she crafts little messages, disguised as nothing. Ovoge Yurik, a nostalgic post, a memory shared. With a caption that means everything and nothing. She hopes you'll respond, or at least notice. Even just a like would do, but you give her nothing, and that is what cuts deepest, not because it's cruel, but because it's clean, still, sharp, no anger, no emotion, just clarity. And in that stillness, she realizes something she's never admitted out loud. She was never really in control. She only mistook your kindness for dependence, your attention for pursuit. Now, with no words spoken, you've drawn the line, and for the first time, she sees the truth. Not only are you not chasing, you never needed to. Day 18 to 20, the fear becomes real. By now, the silence doesn't feel like space anymore. It feels like loss, like something valuable might never return. She no longer wonders where you are. She begins to fear you're not coming back. And for the first time, that fear feels real, not imagined, not a dramatic scenario in her mind, but a quiet, heavy knowing that maybe, this time, it's different. It creeps in late at night when the distractions fade. It hums underneath conversations when no one says your name, so she starts to bring you up, casually at first, as if it's nothing, but her voice tells the truth. There's a pause, attention, like she's checking for a reaction. Then, alone, the pride fades. She scrolls through your profile at 1 a.m., looking for signs. Anything to suggest that you still feel what she no longer hears. A photo of you smiling used to make her feel chosen. Now, it makes her wonder if she ever really knew you, or just the version she wanted you to be. This is where the unraveling begins. The stories she told herself, that you were lucky to have her, that you'd come running back, that she held all the cards, they start to fall apart. In their place comes something new, not punishment, not guilt, but a sobering clarity. You weren't chasing, you weren't playing games, you were offering something rare, real presence, steady energy, a man at peace with himself. And when that wasn't met with the same level of care, you didn't argue, you didn't beg, you didn't explain. You stepped away, silently, firmly, not to hurt her, but to honor yourself. Now she sees that not as a tactic, but a standard, not as control, but as self-respect. She once believed she was the prize. Now she wonders if the real prize was what you were offering all along. Days 21 to 25. The strategizing begins. By now, your silence isn't just noticeable, it's undeniable. It's stripped away every illusion she used to protect herself. The belief that she was always in control, gone. Now comes the shift. Not desperation, but something colder, more calculated. She starts crafting her presence differently. Her tone softens. Her behavior becomes more deliberate. It's not just about getting attention. It's about reclaiming the image she fears she's lost in your eyes. You see it in the way she posts. Subtle, measured, almost nostalgic. A quote, a lyric, a memory she knows you'd recognize. Each one is bait, but dressed in the costume of coincidence. She might even send a text that feels accidental. Wrong person, she'll say, but it's not. She knows exactly who she's messaging. She just doesn't want to seem like she cares. Or maybe she appears in places you once frequented, hair just right, voice a bit louder, trying to recapture the spark through presence alone. But here's what she didn't expect. You don't respond to half-open doors anymore. You don't mistake vague efforts for real connection. You don't chase ghosts of the past. Not because you're bitter, not because you want revenge, but because you've changed, you've grown, and with growth comes clarity. You no longer crave the things that once had power over you, and that stillness, that calm refusal to play the game, it shakes her. She expected resistance, or maybe a last-minute surrender, but she didn't expect neutrality, a peace that doesn't need permission, a man who no longer needs to be validated to feel complete. She used to think her power came from your attention, but now, you've become something more powerful than she can manage, unbothered, unreachable, unmoved. Days 26 to 30. She's no longer curious. She's invested. At this stage, something fundamental shifts. She's not just wondering anymore. She's feeling deeply. Your silence hasn't just created space. It's created contrast, and contrast reveals truth. The absence of your attention, your energy, your presence, it now weighs heavier than any word you ever said. What once felt like a quiet disappearance now lingers in the back of her mind. It's no longer a puzzle. It's a presence she thought she could forget, but now realizes she never fully understood. She's not curious about what you're doing. She's invested in understanding what changed, why her world feels different now that you're no longer in it. Gone are the vague posts, the accidental messages, the passive tests to provoke you. Now comes something real, a message, maybe a call. But this time, it's not wrapped in ego. There's vulnerability in her voice, a softness in her words, not because she's trying to win you back, but because, for the first time, she's not assuming you're still there. She's hoping she hasn't waited too long, hoping you haven't moved so far that she can't reach you anymore. And now the power dynamic quietly shifts. She's not wondering if you'll reply. She's wondering if she still deserves a reply. Because your silence wasn't just a tactic, it was a mirror. And in that mirror, she saw what she took for granted, what she thought would always be there. And now that it's not, she finally sees its value. You, too, are different now. Not harder, just clearer. You've realized what your peace costs, what your energy is worth, and that your worth never depended on her attention. Her message, no matter how sincere, doesn't undo the journey you've walked. It doesn't erase the inner strength you've built. That silence was sacred, and now, so are your standards. You don't pause to punish, you pause to protect, because what was once given freely must now be met with equal depth. She's no longer asking for a reaction, she's asking for reconnection. But here's the catch. You're the one who decides, and this time, that decision isn't about desire. It's about alignment, about truth, about honoring who you've become. Because now, you carry your worth like a man who finally remembers he was always whole. Disappearing isn't about revenge. It's not a game, and it's never about making her suffer. True silence, when done with clarity, not pride, is a mirror, not for her to reflect on her mistakes, but for you to rediscover who you truly are beneath the noise, beneath the need for validation. When a man steps back, not out of bitterness, but from inner peace, he doesn't shrink, he sharpens, he doesn't chase, he remembers the version of himself that didn't need applause to feel valuable, didn't need attention to feel real, didn't need someone's approval to feel like a man. And while she may think the silence is a tactic, while she analyzes your absence as some kind of strategy, the truth is, you're not trying to be missed. You're simply no longer available to be misunderstood, because what she once saw as your presence, your kindness, your availability, your loyalty, was never weakness. It was strength in its purest form. But now, that strength has matured. It has evolved into boundaries, into direction, into purpose. When a man no longer feels the need to explain himself, when he no longer waits to be chosen, he becomes a different force entirely, one that doesn't orbit someone else's emotions, but moves forward from his own alignment. And if she forgets him, it means she never truly saw him, not the real him, only the version that played by her script. But now, the script is gone, and the man writes his own pages. So, let me ask you this. Have you ever pulled away, fully and intentionally, only to realize that silence did what words never could? Or have you made the mistake of returning too soon, thinking her curiosity was a sign of care, only to be reminded that your peace was too valuable to gamble? If you've been there, you're not alone. Every man walks through the fire of regret or resistance. Some burn, some build, but all learn if they're willing. I want to hear your story. not because we seek praise, but because your journey might help another man find his footing. Drop a comment below. Let's make this more than just a video. Let's make it a brotherhood of men who chose peace over performance. Hit like if this message reached you. Subscribe if you're walking this path of masculine self-mastery. And share this with someone who's been chasing instead of standing still. Because sometimes what changes everything isn't what you say. It's what you no longer have to say.